Welcome back, true believers and all you spectacular Spidey fans, to another really interesting episode of Spider-Man PS4 101. So in case you missed it earlier today, Insomniac Games held another live stream playing through Spider-Man PS4, although this time they were playing through the Heist DLC. And as they were playing through the Heist, they actually mentioned some really interesting info relating to Chapter 2 of the City That Never Sleeps DLC pack of Turf Wars. But just a heads up everyone, this video will indeed contain spoilers of the Heist DLC, so if you haven't beaten it yourself yet, just keep that in mind. And the first spoiler we're going into relating to the Heist is obviously the ending and the fate of Felicia Hardy. So obviously at the end of the Heist, Felicia Hardy managed to gather all the USB drives relating to the crime families of New York and went back to her penthouse after completing the job. However, it was revealed that Hammerhead's goons rigged her penthouse to explode if she tried to enter it, and that is exactly what happened. And even though we don't know for sure whether or not Black Cat is still alive, Insomniac was implying that that might have not been the last time we have seen Black Cat within this game's universe. But as to whether or not we'll get more info relating to her either in Turf Wars or Silver Lining is still unclear, but we'll just have to wait and see when those future DLC packs release. And as we see at the end of the Heist DLC, we are left with a title card saying to be continued. Not only does this mean that the City That Never Sleeps DLC pack is one giant cohesive narrative that is being split up into 3 separate parts, but it's also the reason as to why they are releasing in each month rather than all in December. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, there is a complaint out there from some fans saying that they should have just released all this DLC all in December rather than having it release each month. Not only is this a strategy that most businesses do, but it's also a way to have the player continuously be invested within the game each month rather than waiting 3 whole months to get some new content. And just like any other DLC does in any other game, it's a way of having the player wanting more content after finishing the first piece of the DLC that they have already purchased. But as to whether or not you actually enjoy that type of business practice, that's all up for you to decide. And seeing how the City That Never Sleeps DLC pack is being split up into 3 separate pieces, it's pretty much guaranteed that Turf Wars and Silver Lining will include the same amount of content that the Heist had. And this primarily relates to what Insomniac said during the live stream by stating that there will indeed be new villains to encounter, as well as new enemy factions to fight, and of course new side activities, collectibles, and suits. However, one of the biggest problems of the Heist DLC is that none of the new suits had any suit powers tailored to them. And even though some fans are saying that Insomniac could always add new suit powers to these costumes in a future update or patch, Insomniac actually debunked that in the live stream. So not only will the Resilient UK or Scarlet Spider 2 suits feature any suit powers in any update in the future, that also is going to be the case for the other suits within Turf Wars and Silver Lining. And I gotta say, even though we are getting new suits in these DLC packs, I am a bit disappointed that we aren't going to get any suit powers tailored to them. However, Insomniac did reiterate that the fans will hopefully enjoy the upcoming suits within the Turf Wars DLC, specifically since one of them is Brian Intar's favorite out of the entirety of the DLC suits. And even though we don't know for sure which suit Brian likes the most, either if it's a movie suit or another Insomniac design, I'm just really interested to see what it looks like. And speaking of Turf Wars, John Paquette said that they are polishing the story of the Turf Wars DLC as we speak, and that all the audio has been recorded from the voice actors of the game. And seeing how Insomniac is still working on the DLC as we speak is very reassuring to know. And as to who the main antagonist of Turf Wars is going to be, is more than likely Hammerhead, who was teased at the very end of the Heist. And adding on to that, Insomniac also stated that the Turf Wars DLC will give players a real challenge more so than what the Heist was. And given what Insomniac said, along with Hammerhead being the forefront of the Turf Wars DLC, I definitely sense an epic boss fight with him in our near future. And speaking of boss fights, that also mainly relates to what could happen within the Silver Lining DLC coming in December. And given everything Insomniac said, mainly relating to how this is one big cohesive narrative of the City That Never Sleeps DLC, I do think that we are going to get something really interesting within Silver Lining. So as we see near the end of the Heist DLC, Hammerhead's goons have managed to gather a bunch of Sable International equipment to arm themselves with. And since Silver Sable still has a presence within Spider-Man PS4's universe, even in the DLC, I do think that she is going to be the main character of Silver Lining. And not only that, but seeing what Insomniac did where you could team up with Black Cat as Spider-Man, I do think that's going to happen again where you could team up with Silver Sable as Spider-Man in Silver Lining, trying to take out all the goons that stole her equipment. And even though I don't know for sure where the overall story is headed within Turf Wars or Silver Lining, I do think that we will at some point be teaming up with Silver Sable in the Silver Lining DLC to take on a bigger threat. But regardless as to what's going to happen in the future, I'm still really excited to see where this story goes. But with all that out of the way, everyone, that's all the news I have for you today, and please let me know all your thoughts in the comments section down below. If you saw the Insomniac live stream, what'd you think of what Insomniac had to say about the DLC, and which part are you the most excited for within Turf Wars and Silver Lining? For me, I am really disappointed that none of the other suits within Turf Wars or Silver Lining will have suit powers. I just really hope that the boss fight with Hammerhead within Turf Wars is going to be a really entertaining one. And even more so, I really hope that Brian Intar's favorite costume within the Turf Wars DLC just looks really cool. But anyways, guys, thank you all so much for watching. Stay spectacular, Spidey fans. Peace out.
Spill, hamster. How have you blocked our comm?
Blocked your comm? Well, wouldn't you like to know?
Don't you turn your back on me! My father!
Daddy's out of the picture, princess. So be nice.